Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling a challenge, a challenge many of us face, feeling like we're drowning in
Yeah,
to-dos.
that feeling is pretty universal, I think.
Totally. So we're diving into David Allen's Getting Things Done, drawing from endorsements, acknowledgments, and the core wisdom within the book itself, or
Hmm.
mission, to really extract the essential principles for creating a sense of stress-free productivity, things you can actually start using today.
Exactly. And we're not just like summarizing the book.
Mm-hmm.
We want to pinpoint why getting things done, or GTD, has resonated with so many people,
Yeah.
especially now, right? When busy is just the default.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, let's unpack this feeling of overwhelm. You know that sensation like countless tasks buzzing around your brain, work deadlines, stuff at home, little errands.
Yeah, mental clutter.
Exactly. And it feels like you're constantly playing catch up, but there's no finish line in sight. Alan hits on this right away.
He does.
He points out that unlike, say, old school jobs with clear endpoints, build the wall, harvest the field, a lot of our modern projects are fuzzy.
Fuzzy, yeah. Like, how polished does this report really need to be? Or how streamlined can this process get? There aren't always those natural boundaries.
Right. And with endless information, there's always one more thing you could do.
And that lack of defined edges, that ambiguity, it really fuels the overwhelm, doesn't it? It's not just a number of things. It's that they're kind of vague.
Mm-hmm.
Alan also makes a key point. If your own system for organizing stuff isn't working, it creates this subconscious resistance.
Mm-hmm.
Your brain sort of senses the chaos and digs its heels in.
Yeah, it's like your brain whispers, oh no, not another thing to add to the mental junk drawer. It's almost self-sabotage.
And sometimes, Alan suggests, our own drive, our desire to do well, can backfire.
Mm.
We care, so we take on more, adding to that mental load.
It's a total productivity paradox. You want to do more, so you end up feeling less in control.
So what's the escape hatch? How do we get out of this constant state of reactivity?
Well, that's the core promise of GTD, right? Alan proposes you can achieve relaxed control. Just think about that phrase.
Relax control. It sounds almost contradictory, but very appealing.
Totally. Not frantic scrambling, but a calm command over everything. And the key, he argues, is getting absolutely everything off your mind.
Everything.
Everything. And into an external system you actually truly trust. What part of that promise hits home for you?
Well, the relaxed part, definitely. But also the idea that it's external, getting it out of my head.
Yeah, for me too. And here's what I found really encouraging. Alan isn't saying, learn this whole new complicated skill set.
Okay.
He believes we already have the basic abilities. We can focus, we can write things down, we can imagine outcomes, plan steps, review options.
But we do those things already,
Mm.
maybe just not systematically.
Exactly. It's about harnessing and refining those existing skills to work better. He even says lots of things we do instinctively are actually on the right track. We just need a framework.
That's really empowering, actually. It's not about becoming someone different, just fine-tuning.
Mm-hmm.
So that brings us to the big question. Why do these tasks keep looping in our heads? Why can't we just forget them until it's time?
Right. Why does that unfinished presentation or that email you need to send keep nagging you? Alan says the main reason is a mismatch, a gap between the outcome we want and where things actually are.
Okay, a gap.
Huh.
But he gets more specific, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah. He pinpoints 3 key areas where we usually drop the ball, which keeps those mental loops running.
What are those 3 breakdowns?
Okay, first, we haven't clearly defined the intended outcome. It's still just a vague idea, like deal with the insurance thing.
Vague, got it.
Second, we haven't decided on the very next physical action. What's the actual next step I can take, like call Bob or draft email to Susan?
The physical action, okay.
And third, we haven't put reminders of that outcome and that next action into a system we trust, a system we know we'll look at regularly.
And Alan is really clear on this, isn't he? Until you do those 3 things, clarify the outcome, decide the next action, and capture it reliably, your brain will not let it go.
Nope. It just hangs on. It's like this background process draining your mental RAM, causing anxiety. You can't fool your own mind, he says.
Right. Even if you just thought, oh, I should get to that. If you haven't nailed the next step and put it somewhere reliable, your brain keeps nudging you, usually at 3 a.m.
Exactly. Which just makes the stress worse. It's a classic vicious cycle.
So this really highlights how crucial clarity and definition are. It's not just about having a list, it's about what's on the list and how actionable it is.
Alan really hammers this point. He argues lack of time. That's usually not the main problem, even though we think it is.
Interesting. What is then?
It's the lack of clarity. lack of clarity about what a project is and what the very next steps are. He says clarifying things right at the start, as soon as they pop into your head, is way more effective than trying to sort out a mess later.
And he has that great line, things rarely get stuck because of lack of time. They get stuck because the doing of them has not been defined.
Yes, that one really hit me. Think about it. How often do you have something like update resume on your list? And it just sits there.
Because you haven't defined the doing, like find template online or list achievements from last project.
Exactly. It's just this big nebulous blob. And that leads into his bottom-up approach, which can feel a bit counterintuitive at first.
Right, when you're drowning, focusing on the tiny things doesn't feel like the priority.
But Alan argues it is. He admits, intellectually, top-down makes sense, start with goals, work down. But practically, when you're swamped with the daily stuff, you don't have the bandwidth for high-level thinking.
Okay.
So by getting a handle on the immediate stuff, first your inbox, your desk, those small tasks, you build a foundation. You clear the decks. Then you have the mental space for the bigger picture.
It's like clearing the clutter on your desk before you try to rearrange the whole office. Build momentum, reduce that feeling of being stuck.
Precisely. And the cornerstone of this bottom-up approach is the mind sweep.
The mind sweep.
This is the crucial step of capturing absolutely everything that has your attention. Big stuff, small stuff, ideas, worries, tasks.
Everything. Like everything.
100%. Get it out of your head and into an objective tool. A notebook, an app, whatever. Just not bouncing around in your brain.
Why is that so comprehensive capture so vital? Even for, like, buy milk.
Because of what he calls open loops. Anything pulling at your attention that isn't where it belongs or isn't defined, these things create mental drag.
Open loops.
Yeah.
Like background apps running on your phone, draining the battery.
Exactly like that. It's not just the big projects, it's finalized budget, but it's also remember to buy batteries, call Aunt Carol, fix leaky faucet idea. Your subconscious tracks all these incompletes.
And the simple act of defining the outcome and the next action, even for one small thing, can make a difference immediately.
Alan says, absolutely. He suggests just trying it. Take one open loop, define the outcome, define the next physical action. Most people feel an immediate little boost. More control, less stress, maybe even some motivation. Now imagine doing that for everything pulling at your attention. That's the core idea.
Okay, so you do the mind sweep, you capture everything. What's next? You've got this big pile of stuff.
Right. That leads to the processing workflow, getting your in basket to empty. And in can be physical mail, email, notes, anywhere stuff collects.
Processing. So not doing it all yet, but deciding about it all.
Exactly. It's like triage. You look at each item systematically and make a decision. He outlines 5 key actions for every single item.
Okay, let's hear the 5 actions.
First, trash it. If you don't need it, get rid of it. Be ruthless.
Ruthless. I like it.
Second, if it takes less than 2 minutes, do it right then. Now, don't defer it.
The 2-minute rule. Heard that one.
Third, if someone else can or should do it, delegate it. Fourth, if it takes longer than 2 minutes and you have to do it, defer it. But specifically, organize a reminder for that action into your trusted system. Put it on a list.
Got it. So it's captured and you know where you'll see it again.
Exactly. And fifth, as you process, you'll notice some things aren't just single actions. They represent bigger outcomes needing multiple steps. Those you identify as projects.
Ah, okay. So the processing step helps you identify the bigger chunks of work.
Precisely. And that idea of the in-basket as a processing station, not storage, that's huge. Don't let stuff just pile up there. Make a decision on each item.
One item at a time, he says.
Yeah, one at a time. Don't cherry pick the easy ones and leave a dreaded pile of hard stuff. And break down vague things. Clean garage is useless. Call John Rhee old fridge and garage. That's an action.
So you get really specific, even using sticky notes temporarily during processing.
Yeah, like jot down the action on a Post-it, stick it on the item, then organize it properly later.
Okay, so you process the individual items, and you start spotting these projects. How does Alan define a project again?
Simple definition. Any outcome you're committed to that requires more than one action step to complete.
More than one step.
Okay, so you look at your actions, call plumber, research new faucets, buy faucet, schedule installation, and you realize, the project is fix bathroom sink. Recognizing these is key for seeing the bigger picture.
Right. Otherwise, you just have a long list of disconnected tasks. So once you've defined actions and identified projects, how do you organize it all so it's actually useful? not just another messy list.
This is the organize step, and it's critical. Alan's big innovation here is organizing action reminders by context.
Context, meaning where you are, what tool you need.
Exactly. You create lists based on the place, tool, or even person needed. So you might have lists like
Let me guess. Calls.
calls is a classic, also at computer, errands, at office, at home, maybe agendas for specific people or meetings.
Read review, maybe?
Read review, definitely. The power is if you have 10 minutes in your phone, you just pull up the calls list. It aligns your options with your reality.
And it forces you to define the next physical action, right? Because you need to know the context to put it on the right list.
Absolutely. Plan party doesn't fit on a context list. Call caterer goes on calls. Draft guest list goes on at computer.
So the original note or email that triggered the action, you can often toss it once the action is on the right list.
Often, yes, its job is done. You've extracted the actionable info. Though for emails needing action, sometimes keeping the email itself flagged or in an action folder works, especially if you live in your inbox.
Okay, that makes sense for actions. What about organizing the projects, the bigger things?
For projects, he recommends a separate projects list. Just one master list is often best, he thinks. It's your inventory of all the multi-step outcomes you're committed to.
One list to rule them all.
Sort of. It gives you that higher level overview so you can make strategic choices. What major things am I trying to move forward?
And the stuff related to the projects. Notes, files, research.
That's support material. It needs to be organized so it's easily accessible when you work on the project. Digital folders, physical folders, linked notes in your task manager, whatever works. The key is easy retrieval. No hunting around.
Okay, so we've got actions organized by context, projects on a list. But what about all the other information? The stuff that isn't actionable right now, but you might need later.
Ah, that's where reference systems come in. Crucial part of GTD. This is for storing non-actionable information you want to keep.
Like what kind of info?
Articles you want to read someday, manuals, interesting ideas, contact info, financial records. Alan suggests a few types.
Such as?
A good general reference filing system is key, simple A to Z for both paper and digital stuff like emails. Easy to file, easy to find. Maybe some larger category files for big topics like taxes or house records. Your contact manager is a reference system, even your bookshelf.
And the golden rule for reference.
It's for retrieval, not reminders. You don't put action triggers in your reference files. That's what your context lists are for.
And he's big on making filing easy.
Right.
Like physically easy.
Oh, yeah. Keep that filing cabinet right next to you. If it's a hassle to file, you won't do it and stuff will pile up. He tells stories of people redesigning offices just for this.
Okay. And he warns against those to file or hold and review piles.
Big time. Unless you have a strict scheduled time to actually review them, they just become black holes of guilt and clutter. Avoid.
What about that tickler file system he mentioned? That sounds intriguing. 43 folders.
Yeah, the tickler file. It's pretty clever. A physical system, usually. 31 folders numbered 1 to 31 for the days of the current month, and 12 folders labeled for the months.
Okay. So how does it work?
Let's say you have concert tickets for June 15th, and it's currently April. You put the tickets in the folder labeled 15, and you put that folder behind the June month folder. Then, each morning, you pull out today's numbered folder, say April 2nd. Anything in it goes into your in-basket to be processed. That empty 2 folder then goes to the back of the daily stack, behind the 1.
So it rotates.
Exactly. And on May 1st, you take everything out of the May month folder, distribute it into the daily folders for May, and the May folder goes to the back of monthly stack. It tickles your memory on the right day.
Clever. For date-specific reminders. Okay, Ellen also talks about checklists, doesn't he?
He does. He thinks they're incredibly powerful and underrated, useful for everything from like core life values down to just packing for a trip.
So not just for pilots.
Haha, no. He says just the act of making ad hoc lists for recurring things is a great productivity procedure. Standard operating procedures, people to consult, areas for personal growth.
Yeah.
Get it out of your head and onto a list you can refer to.
Makes sense. Don't reinvent the wheel every time.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have the system, captured, processed, organized, but it doesn't run itself right.
Definitely not. That brings us to the crucial review phase. You need to actively look at your lists.
When and how?
Well, you look at your context lists when you're in that context. Got your phone, glance at calls, heading out, check errands, before a meeting, review agendas. It's about engaging with the system opportunistically.
But there's a more structured review too, isn't there? The big one.
Yes, the linchpin, the weekly review. Alan considers this absolutely non-negotiable for the system to work long-term.
Why is this so critical?
He calls it reviewing from the 10,000-foot level. It's your dedicated time, maybe an hour or two each week, to step back and look at everything.
Everything, like all the lists.
All the lists. Projects, next actions, waiting for items, someday maybe lists, calendar. You clear out completed items, process any new inputs, make sure projects have next actions, check your upcoming calendar. It's a total system refresh.
It sounds like it prevents things from falling through the cracks and keeps the whole system trustworthy.
Exactly. It ensures your brain continues to trust the system because it knows everything gets looked at regularly. It dramatically improves the quality of your choices about what to do moment to moment.
Okay, so weekly review is key. Now let's talk about the doing, choosing what to actually work on in any given moment.
Yeah.
How does GTD help with that?
Alan has a model for this. The 4-criteria model for choosing actions. You filter your options based on 4 things, in order.
4 criteria, what are they?
First, context. What can you do right here, right now, with the tools you have? Your context lists help immensely here.
Makes sense. Second.
Second, time available. Do you have 5 minutes or 2 hours?
Okay. Third.
Third, energy level. Are you feeling sharp and focused or kind of drained?
Right. Manly.
Fourth, and only after the other 3, priority. What's the most important or highest leverage thing you can do given your context, time, and energy?
So priority comes last.
Mm-hmm.
That seems backwards to some people.
It does, but his point is it doesn't matter how high priority something is if you're not in the right place to do it, don't have enough time, or lack the mental energy. Context, time, and energy are the practical constraints first.
And organizing by context handles that first filter automatically.
Pretty much. He also suggests having lists of low-energy tasks handy for when you're not feeling 100% but still want to be productive, like filing or tidying up digital folders.
Good tip. Okay, let's shift gears a bit to planning. Alan contrasts an unnatural way of planning with a natural way. What's the difference?
Well, the unnatural model is often reactive. Problem happens, work harder, throw resources at it, maybe get organized, which usually means just reshuffling. Then maybe a pressured brainstorming session. It often skips the why.
Okay, sounds familiar. And the natural model.
It's meant to mirror how our brains actually create things effectively. It has 5 phases.
5 phases. Let's hear them.
1. Purpose and principles. Why are we doing this and what are the ground rules? 2. Outcome visioning. What does success look like, feel like? 3. Brainstorming. Generating lots of ideas, no judgment.
Okay.
4. Organizing. Structuring those ideas. 5. Identifying next actions. What's the very next step to get moving?
That focus on purpose first seems really important.
Hugely important. Alan says knowing the why clarifies everything else. It drives motivation, helps you allocate resources, provides decision-making criteria. If you don't know why you're doing it, you can never do enough of it, right?
Right. And principles, how do you define those?
He suggests finishing the sentence. I'd give others free rein to do this as long as they. That helps uncover your boundaries and standards for the project, prevents conflicts later.
And outcome visioning is about picturing success.
Yeah, vividly. What does wild success look like? To suspend the yes buts and just capture the positive features. It builds enthusiasm and can spark creative ideas.
Brainstorming, suspend judgment, go for quantity.
Yep. Classic brainstorming rules. Get it all out there first, organize later.
And then organizing and next actions bring it back to earth.
Exactly. Structure the ideas, then define the very next physical steps. Alan notes we often do this naturally for simple things, but for complex or stuck projects, consciously walking through these 5 phases is powerful.
And this deeper project planning, he calls that vertical thinking.
That's right. It complements the horizontal focus of managing daily actions. Vertical is the deep dive on one specific project. Use mind maps, outlines, whatever tools help you think creatively about that one thing.
Though he notes most project software is overkill for personal stuff.
Yeah, often too complex. Simple tools can work just fine.
Okay, we've covered managing tasks and projects. But what about the feelings? The stress, the overwhelm? Where does Alan say that comes from?
It's interesting. He argues it's not primarily from having too much to do. It's from broken agreements with yourself.
Broken agreements, like
Yeah.
promises you made to yourself that you haven't kept.
Exactly. Those incompletions. You said you'd call someone, finish that report, clean the closet, and you haven't. That internal inconsistency creates stress.
So how do you avoid breaking those agreements?
3 options, he says. 1, don't make the agreement in the first place. Learn to say no or be realistic about commitments.
Okay.
2, complete the agreement. Do what you said you'd do.
Simple enough. 3.
3. Renegotiate the agreement. If you realize you can't or won't do it as planned, consciously decide to change the agreement. Maybe drop it, postpone it, or change its scope. But do it consciously. Don't just let it hang there.
Renegotiate, even with yourself.
Especially with yourself. He even suggests sometimes lowering your standards on less important things is a valid strategy to free up energy.
And this ties back to capturing everything, right?
Right.
Not because it's all equally important.
But because the uncaptured, undefined stuff creates that subconscious pressure of potentially broken agreements, getting it all out lets you consciously decide what to do, what not to do, and what to renegotiate.
Which highlights why having that functional personal system is so vital.
Absolutely. It's your container to handle the constant flow of inputs without getting swamped. Alan even talks about how shared systems like family and baskets can improve communication and reduce interruptions.
And creating a culture where renegotiating is okay, not seen as failure.
Yes, in teams and organizations too. It has to be acceptable to say, priorities have shifted, I need to adjust this commitment.
And throughout all this, that simple question keeps coming back.
What's the next action?
Yeah, why is that question so powerful?
Because it cuts through vagueness like a knife. It forces clarity. If a project feels stuck, Alan says it's almost always because the very next physical action hasn't been defined.
And procrastination often stems from that lack of clarity.
Often, yes. If you don't know the small, easy first step, the whole thing feels overwhelming. Maybe you get negative mental images and you avoid it. Break it down. Write book is terrifying. Outline chapter 1. Doable. Brainstorm title ideas for 15 minutes. Even easier.
So, defining the next action increases your operational responsiveness.
Exactly. You're ready to act when the opportunity arises.
In all these pieces together, capturing, clarifying, organizing, reviewing, doing, planning, they connect the big picture goals with the daily grind.
That's the goal. Multi-level outcome management, he calls it. Aligning your 50,000-foot view, life goals, with your runway-level actions, calling Bob. Even small improvements here can make a big difference.
Wow, okay. We have definitely dived deep into GTD. Let's try to pull out some key takeaways.
Okay, recap. Big one. Get stuff out of your head. Your brain is for having ideas, not holding them. Use a trusted external system.
Right, and clarify. Define the desired outcome and the very next physical action for everything that has your attention.
Build that trusted system. Lists organized by context are key. Use reference files, maybe a tickler file.
And review. Regularly look at your lists, especially the weekly review. That's crucial for maintaining control and trust.
And finally, make conscious choices. Use the 4 criteria context, time, energy, priority, to decide what to do, and just as importantly, what not to do right now.
Excellent summary. So that brings us to our final thought for everyone listening.
Okay.
Think about one area, just one in your work or life right now, where you feel the most overwhelmed, the most underwater. What is just one open loop in that area? And can you define the very next tiny physical action for it right now before you do anything else?
Just one small step.
Just one. See how defining that single next action might start to shift that feeling of overwhelm, even just a little bit. How it might reduce that mental clutter.
It really is about that first defined step, isn't it? We hope you'll reflect on how these GTD principles could fit into your world, maybe even revisit some of these ideas.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.